to bring in first our Dana Bash, who has covered the Senate for quite some time. Dana, your observations as you see this going forward. Again, the Democrats saying we got what we needed, a commitment to have a debate in the Senate, but there is no guarantee, even if they pass a Dreamer bill, a DACA bill, an immigration bill in the United States Senate, there's no guarantee anything like that will pass the House, is there?
No, there isn't at all, which is why the not-so-subtle trashing of the president that the Democratic leader started with by saying, you know, what happened to the guy who was supposed to make deals was so critical, because Schumer was clearly taunting the president, because he knows that once it gets to that point, if it gets to the point where you're going to need to pass this in the House, that is going to be up to the president. The president is going to be the one who has to step forward and give House Republicans cover, from the House Speaker, who's going to have to be forced by the president to put that whatever bipartisan deal it is on the floor, knowing that it might not get the majority of Republicans, which this speaker and past speakers have been loath to do. So that is what was interesting. The other observation that I have, John, is as we're so focused on, you know, kind of the politics of it now, but looking forward to the way that the Democratic Party and the politics of the Democratic Party is going to play out. The choice that Chuck Schumer made today, just as somebody who I've covered him for a long time, it seems to me he went with his heart, because he is a deal maker at heart, and not with his head, which is probably telling him we got to keep the resistance moving. We got to keep the Democratic base energized. Because he clearly was convinced by the Democrats who have been working, as Dick Durbin said, with Republicans for the past few days. We got to put an end to this. We have to move this forward. And he didn't go along with the progressives, who I'm guessing we're going to see some of them voting no on this. And he certainly, as you said, is going to hear from a lot of those progressives that he gave in, and he gave in too soon.
Right, this vote, right, and I don't want to get too far out ahead of what we're watching right here, because the United States government has been shut down since 12:01 a.m. Saturday morning. The impact of that shutdown will be more limited, two of those days being weekend days, Saturday and Sunday. This, the first work week day, when we expect it to start to see the impact of the shutdown. It now appears the Senate is voting. It will go to the House. Then that legislation should reach the president, perhaps even by dinner time tonight. So the government should be fully reopened by tomorrow morning, Tuesday, the second day of the work week. Dana, stand by with us. Let's go over to the White House with Jeff Zeleny. Number one, Jeff, I assume there's no question at all the president is there ready to sign this as soon as it gets there. Any sense of how the president is going to react from the public tongue lashing he just received there from his friend Chuck, Democrat Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader in the Senate? And as you well know, behind the scenes, a lot of Republicans have also said the only way to resolve this shutdown is for the president to stay in the White House and to stay quiet.
And that's exactly what's happened. I mean, the president has been extraordinarily out of this picture, at least for most of the last 3 days or so. I am told by a White House official that we are going to see the president speak probably after that House vote. Again, you know, it has to pass the Senate. As you said, we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves here. It has to pass the Senate, and then the House is expected to swiftly take it up. So I can assure you, at least in the words of a White House official, the president will become re-engaged in this in a public way, likely speaking before he would sign this bill. But John, I think it certainly raises an interesting question: what happens going forward here? The president, as we know, has been on several sides of this issue. And I think that one thing is clear, that you know, despite the fact that the government will be reopening, it looks like, if things all happen as it seems they will, there is no change in the hardened positions on immigration and DACA. So the president still has a decision to make, a challenge for his leadership. Is he going to do what he has talked about several times and do something for the Dreamers, or is he going to take a harder line on this? So this simply moves things down the road 3 weeks or so, but certainly a sense of relief here at the White House. Of course, the president is going to try and reframe this as a win for him, that Democrats blinked. It's partially true, but I think the bigger picture going forward, the bigger question here is what happens after this? Will the president stay disengaged, or will he re-engage on this immigration fight? Because that is the next thing to come. Of course, he'll be giving a State of the Union address next week, where he has a chance to frame and reframe all of this debate, John.